Welcome to another episode of Unpacking. Now, tonight we'll be delving into the topic of addiction. We understand it's a taboo topic for some of our listeners, but it is something that needs to be discussed among young and older adults. Now, the topics that we have here tonight are what the causes of addiction, relapsing, morality, rehabilitation, and resolution. Now, I, for one, don't have a known addiction. I may have one, but of course, through having this discussion, maybe I may find out what it is. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video. And remember, all of what we speak on here in our videos and our podcasts are our opinions and not facts. That is our memo here. Please stick to it all the time. And of course, before I delve into it, I have to ask my lovely host, how are we feeling about the topic of addiction, guys? Are we feeling close, away from it? How are we actually feeling about it?
I feel like you're trying to dig up part of my life, and I refuse to talk about this.
I mean, I don't think, given everything we've discussed here on this show, I think we should, open ourselves up.
You're trying to make me dig up something and then talk about it so I can actually resolve it, but I actually love my addiction, so leave it alone.
Nothing is wrong with that, man. You see, I think it's good. Like, we have morality right here as a topic. It's good to own it, own that, you do have this issue. I remember somebody reached out to me from the previous episode that we had about motivation, speaking about, the thing that Joshua had encountered with the training position and stuff like that. And, they were saying they were in a situation like that before. And they were glad that, God was able to show them the right path, and realizing that the path that they thought they should have been on, that was not the correct one. But over time they did, as I said in the episode, trust the process. So nothing is wrong with discussing your addiction and owning it and learning to love it. I mean, I don't know, like I said, morality we have right here, we can definitely discuss a little bit more. How about you, Joshua? How are you feeling about addiction as a topic to discuss?
I don't feel any particular way about it.
Okay.
With all other topics, I'm open to the discussion.
Okay. Right, well, of course, delving right into it. All right, I guess we can ask Alex, since Alex was so, touchy-feely about what I said before. What do you think are some of the causes of addiction, and how do people develop them? If you can speak on that.
I mean, alright, people would say the causes of addiction are abuse, or you'd probably say it's a thing that's in family history, it's hereditary, or something along that lines. But in some cases, I do just believe you find something, you like it, and you continue liking it as you do.
You're essentially saying that, say if my father was a drinker, based on the statement you just made, is it that I will become a drinker too? Isn't that kind of like a learned behavior?
Technically, it doesn't necessarily have to be. Yes, it is a learned behavior, but in some cases, it's actually something that happens. If if you are not conscious of it, it might just happen. So in your case, you're saying that your father is a drinker.
Oh no, my father is a drinker. I was giving an example.
I'm just saying. I know it was an example, but I'm just saying. In some cases, yes, it runs in the family. You grow up around it. It becomes a part of you. Unless you are yourself conscious of it and then decide, I'm staying far away from that.
Cool. What was that?
So
that's why the timing in there.
Drinking, being an alcoholic, does not run in the blood. Contrary to what many may believe, it is something that, unlike cancer and other illnesses that are hereditary, alcoholism is a learned behavior. It's not only just because, alright, my father drinks, my grandfather drinks, me, that I'm going to also be an alcoholic. Sometimes for many persons, it is that from they were a little child, they were having Heineken and Guinness put in their sippy cups, and so they develop a certain appreciation. The taste buds get tantalized from very early with these alcoholic beverages, and then they form a reliance from they're very young. I see it in my community every day. See 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds walking past with a clear cup, and you know whatever is in it is a mixture of something with something. Right?
You see an 8-year-old with a clear cup with like boom and mixed with white rum. That's what you're saying.
and it's like a social. It's okay. It's
I
not
mean,
problematic.
fair. No, it is problematic. You shouldn't be giving your
No,
children liquor.
no. It's not problematic for them because it's like a rite of passage.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they went through it, and this is I'm making him into a man.
Yeah.
He must learn to
Fair.
handle it.
I can say that's definitely true, and yeah, that's why I said I get your point. It's something you grow up around it. It happens. I mean, I'm not an alcoholic. I grew up around my grandfather and all of his friends drinking every day. And trust me, I used to go over there in the bar, creeping on my little legs. And of course, I'll get a sip of the Red Stripe. I should say, grow an appreciation for Red Stripe over the years. I love it, but not to the point where I'll drink it every single day like my grandfather
Right.
does.
So what I'm saying is that's why it's not hereditary. Alcoholism and smoking and any other addiction. A lot of times when you hear that persons are addicted to something, the first question is asked, what trauma did you go through? Were you abused? What are you trying to suppress within you?
I'm just, I mean, not to pinpoint in that moment, but there's something I wanted to say that will definitely assist in that point right there. If some persons latch on to what they're addicted to because of means to get through something, like some persons will use alcohol as the means of liquid luck or a social lubricant to, pass by a certain situation, or some.
I love how you use the word social lubricant.
No, it's what it does. Like for instance, in what you just said about him, saying, "Oh, what trauma did you go through?" There's some people that drink to just make it through the day. There's some people that smoke just to pass the hours by, just to get to the other day or to get through. For instance, some persons who are troubled with anxiety. I am not necessarily an alcoholic because I don't drink that much to be considered same or whatever, anybody incident or whatever, yeah. But I will have terrible anxiety as discussed in one of our previous episodes, and there's sometimes where if I have to, entrance into something kind of mentally alarming, I will use a little boost to get me through that without the shakes, even though the shakes get me anyways. But like I said, just going to your point there about some persons using certain things to get them past their trauma or just to cope with life in general. But go back to your point still.
Yeah, so it's not always coming from a place of fear or hurt. You'll find that some people will tell you point blank, even persons in academia will tell you that I smoke to reach another level. It opens up faculties for which would have not been accessible. I am not going to test that theory. I am quite comfortable where it is that I am, because I feel like if I open any more of my brain, the world will not be ready for what is to come. You'll hear it from reggae artists who sing about the cannabis as being some sort of spiritual enlightener that gives you wings. Right? So there is that aspect of it as well, that it is done as a form of improving oneself or exercising your religious freedom and right, which is yours. That is a healthy plant and a healthy means of recreation that you can then form a reliance upon, and it becomes an addiction because you cannot live without it. You rather smoke than eat, so it becomes unhealthy. I've seen that play out right in front of my eyes under my roof.
But that brings me to a question though.
Sure.
Can addictions be healthy?
Right, which comes to the morality of it as to whether or not
it's
so
good or it's bad.
right, and it's really dependent on the situation. It's also dependent on the perspective of the person who is standing in judgment to say whether it is guilty or not guilty. Guilty being that it is bad, not guilty being that it is good. So my perspective on it is a very open one. I'm not going to be hard and fast or black and white. It's more of a gray area. Reason being, if you ask me, sex predator, someone who preys upon children, preys upon women, men, anyone really, if it is better for him to live out his fantasy virtually by nature of porn than to carry it out physically by hurting human beings, which do I find to be better? Porn is an addiction, is it not? But I would rather him go and pleasure himself than take into his own captivity other people and traumatize them. Same can be said of those who find solace in drinking as opposed to jumping off of a high building. It's really dependent. Now, you're doing physical damage to your body, you're damaging your internal organs, and at some point you might have to, you're shortening your lifespan dependent on how much you drink.
I think one point to note here, like, you were saying about the morality of it and the perspective, which is definitely true, because there are some persons who can have the view you said, I'd prefer if it that they pleasure themselves, safely or wherever it is. But there are some people that would say, no, we don't want that person even to have the access to that type of information, because a lot of nations view that same in the same way that you're saying it. They would, in terms of the list that you put out there, perhaps for the latter, but the beginning of how you started that list with the child predator, yet people don't have anybody collecting any form of child pornography will definitely be stumped out, whether it is in private or it's public. It's just something that they view as being completely immoral. Now, the statement before about if it is healthy or unhealthy, I think anything done in excess is unhealthy. Anything at all. That's my view. Whether it is drinking too much water or whatever it is, it's just unhealthy. I think a decent balance in anything is good. I think it's definitely good. Like, for instance, some people use marijuana as means to level their mind. I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast like to smoke marijuana, and I can say definitely, because I do sell products relating to hemp extracts and stuff like that. It honestly does calm you, and I can say I definitely do benefit from that. Sometimes because we want to be able to completely rely upon something rather than, trying to find that inner peace to really meditate and bring ourselves down. It becomes an addiction. But the truth be told, like I said before, anything in excess is just unhealthy. I think what most persons would like to do within themselves is like, how do I know when too much is too much? When too much is just too much? Well, where do I gauge that? And I think a lot of people who use things as social crutches or social lubricants, they never know exactly when it is time to stop.
I refuse to believe that they don't know. I think that you are well aware because your body gives you signs.
Yeah, they do. It does.
Yeah, you are aware. You just refuse to accept.
I think our bodies are equipped enough to tell us that, listen, I don't think this is right. And I mean, you've been coughing here for an 8-minute round. You're clearly not supposed to be smoking any more blunts or splits. I think I should give a break from that. But of course, people use statements like this. Oh, that pain is weakness leaving the body, and instead of comfort, like the are discouraging statements that are made towards people to continue. And of course, these are always done in social settings. For instance, me mentioning that alcohol can be a social lubricant. When you go to a place like, a nice bar, you and the friends and whatever the case is, and when you end up come up with some form of drinking game, because of we not wanting to, be seen as a certain way. Mind you, we are aware that we shouldn't be drinking that much because, for one, we don't really handle our liquor very well, and we're not supposed to be driving while we're intoxicated. But because of the need to have acceptance upon ourselves, we put ourselves in a situation where, we end up gaining on to something that we never asked for. Like some people who are introduced to weed, majority of the time it wasn't because they wanted to try it was because of some form of peer pressure. I don't know if anyone here can attest to that, but I know I was always pressured to wanting to smoke weed, and it still has not worked because smoking is just not for me. But some people end up trying crack and
back in
cocaine.
high school, I had that experience in terms of we were on a illegal cadet camp. We were there. We weren't supposed to be there. We wanted to study for a STAR examination that was coming up, and whilst there, a particular cadet of had some illegal substance. And he wanted company because, of course, the devil find work for idle hand. Misery love company.
Two ticks, facts.
Yeah, man. He thought upon himself, found it current to want to pressure good old me to come and smoke with him. Now, one of the things that the people who are in my inner circle know, that I'm a bit scornful. I don't like sharing forks. I don't like drinking from the same bottle. So why on God's green earth? Because this did not develop overnight. I'd always been that way. The only person that I comfortably share my bottle with is my child. Right. So why on God's green earth would I want to put something that you have put in your mouth and gotten your saliva on?
Like, the way how he says this, I'm like completely thinking about it. Like, no, honestly, I'm really thinking about it. I've never done it because I'm not sharing nothing with nobody like that, but it's just the way how he puts it, just puts it into perspective. For all of our listeners, it puts it into perspective. I am not taking my saliva and putting it in anybody else's mouth, and then it gets passed around in a circle.
It happens a lot, though.
That is disgusting.
I see it happen very often, actually. Too often.
I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to
on the corner.
I know it happens. I've seen it, but I'm just saying I don't want to see it.
Not interested. And he wanted to force this thing, calling me all kind of names and things. And I left for home. That was fine with me.
Don't take into the peer pressure.
You can call me whatever you want. I will keep my son right and my hygiene in check. I went to my yard.
I mean, it's an interesting, point of view to realize that people can, and I'm not segueing here, but we have a specific phobia within our culture about the need to be fallacial technicians and, cunning linguists and stuff like that. But yes, we're able to sit with our brethren and, exchange saliva in that way. And me saying it like this, I mean, whoever decided to just get all squeamish, it's a fact. It happens all the time.
Well, might I say that regarding that, right? And it's a double standard that we have. It's a double standard that I do not ascribe to. Where we were having a discussion just the other day at work. A man is very open. As a matter of fact, jumps at the opportunity to put his penis inside somebody's mouth. No questions asked, right? He wants it to happen. But whenever it is that she would then desire for, some reciprocity, it is a problem. But don't you go ahead and kiss her after? Are you not giving yourself head? All of that you have just done.
Alright.
Sometimes it spells absolutely no sense.
I'm going to pause this right there and, put it back on track a little bit because Yeah, but just to put it into perspective for, the people who like sharing blunts, we live in such a homophobic society where if a man even gets close to you, you want to get all antsy about it, but yet you are perfectly fine sitting down, having something in your mouth, giving it to your brethren, your friend,
Oh,
a next man, and then take it back and put it back in your mouth. What? This is the society that it seems that we're living in. So let's move on to it and get back to what we're addicted to. Healthy addiction. That is not something I want to be addicted to. I don't even want.
I don't think you were. I don't think you were. You was just making a point.
We're on it.
I mean,
We went through thing and we're at morality. So what was
yeah,
the...
man. We're speaking about immorality and about how white people relapse. Now, of course, speaking about social crutches and about people being reliant on certain things, I think, all right, many people don't address the stresses of the world, which of course is the following episode after this one. I hope you guys tune in to listen to that. We are not really taught in any sense how to manage our stress. And because we do not manage most of the stresses that we go through, whichever way it might be, we turn to things to help us move along. And these things are, of course, like I said before, social lubricants or social crutches. Just things to help us get through the day. For instance, some people will understand they go to work, they don't like their job. They develop what we call an eating disorder. That can either be the fact that they don't eat a lot or they eat too much. Just to be able to feel good or feel some form of different way than how they feel at work. You do have some people that will do crystal meth just start to deal with the ins and outs of the stresses of their job. And it's not because they particularly want to hurt themselves, it's just that sometimes we require what we call a mental reset. Just to be able to shut the mind off for a while. I was saying to somebody before about the main reasons why humans have to try to fall asleep, eventually reaching into that rapid eye movement, is because that is the process of how it should be. Had we been able to shut ourselves off like computers, we would have all abused it without a doubt. Because just like we want to be able to move through one thing to the next, some of us lack very little patience. Some of us have no virtuous point when it comes to anything that requires us to have, any form of discipline. So of course, any quick way to get to what we want will definitely do it. And sometimes the gateway to have those things done is through drugs. For instance, if you realize you're not necessarily able to get it up to have sex or whatever, but you realize that there's some form of bush that grow around the back that nobody don't know about, you start to abuse it because it helps you get there, not realizing that your body naturally allows you to rise to the occasion to do what you need to do. But because you found something to now rely on, you abuse it. And I think because a lot of us,
in a medical sense as well, you do know that you have people that have chronic pains.
We know that, yeah.
No, they go to the hospital, the doctors there prescribe opioid painkillers, and then they become reliant on the opioids.
Yeah.
It moves from the painkillers themselves to them going on the street because they can't afford the painkillers or the doctor is not giving them anymore and they want.
Right.
They go on the street, they pick up crystal meth, they pick up some form of
if they find anything that can have them replicate what was that before. And of course, I'm someone living testament when it comes to being reliant on something that I really should not be. When I was first administered anxiety pills, I felt relieved to know that, finally my mind can be at ease and I'm able to hear the silence that really goes on outside. But when I saw how it made me feel, I realized that, I could get used to this, man. I could really get used to this. This is very nice. But
when you're abusing Adderall?
No, I'm not. Not at all. My doctor did say to me that, hey, you should not be reliant on this because it's not really something good to do. Very much like some persons who appreciate taking sleeping pills. That's another conversation, right? And I realized within myself that I need to learn how to properly calm my mind down, take some things off, discuss repressed things and try to resolve things rather than have them live on the forefront of my mind. And I realized that through being able to do those things, I was able to kick the habit of needing to take anxiety pills to function on an everyday basis. Because in all honesty, yeah, it's quite easy. Just pop a pill, it gets you there, and you get to do what you need to do. A lot of people rely on anxiety pills. I'm pretty sure I would have not been the first person. But my point here is about knowing, how to prevent yourself from relapsing. The last time I took anxiety pill was actually February 11, 2020. It was way from last year. And I did that because at the time I was going to go through something that would have kind of unearthed some things with me. So I had to do so. But after doing that and realizing I didn't need it and trying to really deal with my internal issues and trying to move past them, which I must pinpoint that, yes, I understand that my problems may have not been the same magnitude as anyone listening, but nothing beats a try. Yeah, it's yeah, man, it is.
Okay.
Right?
I think I know what happened.
Yeah. And, you try your best to see if you can deal with some of the problems. Like, for instance, some of us having sleeping problems. Firstly, try to discern exactly what is on your mind. Are you worrying about money? Are you worrying about somebody being sick? Before you worry, because worrying solves nothing. I'm not being unsympathetic, I'm just being real. Worrying about something solves nothing. Think about some of the things you can actually do. If you're worrying about the fact that somebody could die, I mean, in all honesty, life will take them when life is supposed to. There's nothing you can do about that. And it's kind of a sad thing to accept that, but it is what it is. You can't worry about when you will die, because I'm sure when death shows up for any of us, we will probably not see it coming. It will just show up. I think you should just live in the moment of what you should. And many people say, anyone that has anxiety, well, there probably is.
I think
they say anyone that has
specifically saying that.
Saying what? Saying
when they said death come knocking at your door, there is no escape.
Yeah, there's no escape really, so you can't worry about that. And like I was saying right just now, and people who suffer from anxiety are people who spend their time living in the future. You should try living in the present. And I understand it's hard to not think about what tomorrow may bring, but the truth be told, tomorrow is not promised to any of us. We could die in our sleep, and you have to get used to the idea that this is just what life is. It makes no sense you worry, and people worrying, of course, is a normal human emotion to worry. It is, but you have to find a way to bring that down, because if you don't, you'll end up with what you call sleeping problems, and that is how the sleeping pills come into play, where you get reliant on feeling the need to say, okay, I want to shut my brain up, I just want to take this pill and just shut my brain up. But sleeping pills are not healthy, and of course in any form or dosage it will not be healthy, because given how addictive we as humans are, whether we have addictive personality or not, anything we realize that can get us anything faster, that's the route that we take. Always.
And
that's going to be the road that
I love your point there. Really and truly, if you look at it, life is a slippery slope.
Just is.
You do something, there's a cascade of actions that can come after. You sit and you worry about something, you stress out about something, you end up getting, well, let's go with stress first. You end up getting stressed about it. You start stress eating. If not stress eating, you end up doing something completely different. And you stress eating, you become obese, then you have a whole nother problem. Things just slide once you roll that first snowball, it just
keeps building up. And
I understand to some extent. I don't concur in its fullness with the definition that life is a slippery slope, because it would then suggest that from our birth we were set up for failure, or it is that we
not necessarily. You're set up for just going through life. You can't do anything but just
but I don't think it's a slippery slope, because even when it is, you make bad decisions, because all of us, every human being in existence, have made at least one bad decision of some consequence, and it would not have meant that we all result in failure. Every successful person have made some very stupid decisions that would have set them back, but with this life comes many opportunities and many doors. So I don't believe it's a slippery slope, and I want to make sure that
how I say a slippery slope, meaning you have to continue through life. You can't stop and go back. So you can't regress. You're going to keep going down. There are 101 obstacles on this slope. You can either jump around them, take the wrong way, or in your case, as you were saying, you're going to make some bad decisions. You saw the rock in the road, you didn't sight it, you didn't jump over it, you buck it, or you do something that.
Even that I don't agree with. You can stop. You can regress. We have many of
No, I
people
think
who are
John,
zombies.
both of you have some correct points here, and I'll tell you what I can get from both parties, right? Alex is saying that I can get from what Alex is trying to say. I can get from what you are saying, Josh. Alex is saying that through how permanent life is with every decision, it is imperative you try your best to make the right one. However, in your estimation, you're saying that hey, sometimes some of these wrong decisions can help you to bring about a better outcome. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that's how you learn.
Right.
And you will never know what is
exactly
right
how you learn.
unless you know what is wrong.
Right.
And vice
Exactly.
versa.
This is true. This is true. But I think to some people, like for instance, the first thing you open your point by saying is the fact that that means I was set up for failure from birth. There are many people who would think that, you know, based on the family that they were born in, or
right. They're born
based
in
on the family they were born in, our background or whatever, they were stuck for failure.
Right.
And given anything that is human, like there are some religions that basic humanity, it goes against that. Of course, I can't pinpoint really what religion, but I think both of you guys can get the point I'm making. There are just some things about how a human would normally behave that some religion don't necessarily agree with, and because of that, some people.
Well, Muslims believe that all Western people are infidels. Those who are from the those who are radical, because not all Muslims Islamic believers are like that, but those who have been radicalized believe that every single one of us who does not call the Prophet Muhammad and Allah to be God, right? We are infidels and we deserve to die, and they're going to get how many virgins whenever they get to beyond the skies. And I'm very happy for them. Believe what you want, right? Just stay over where you are with that. Don't even bother with the foolishness.
I mean, not to segue, but I'm pretty sure you probably have never seen this on TV before, but I've never thought about it growing up. But you just said 72 virgins, right? That's what you said. Well, you probably did give a number. You said how many, but the number is actually 72. And apparently, when somebody commits
that much.
I can't even manage one, but the 72 women on my head.
But listen.
That's not heavenly.
The person did not say 72 women, they said 72 virgins.
Make it even worse. Inexperienced.
What are we talking about then? If we're not talking about women, what are they talking about?
So the same thing happened, right? So when the person got to heaven, the person was all like, Osama! And the reason for that was because he got there and saw the 72 virgins, but they were all male on their computer playing World of War.
Oh my god.
So that's a minor segue, but it was kind of funny. Yeah, the fact that religion promised certain things but never do the specifics, but have the political approach, but completely a different other
Christianity gives a promise and it is very clear. Now it's very clear, but it's in order to find out you have to die. So you either die or Christ come back. So that's one of the things that many of us where they're thinking, if heaven is real, the only way I will find out is if I die, and I'm not quite ready to die as yet. And so persons use that as an excuse to say that they're going to live up their life, and when they're old, I will come to church. Yeah, man, just give me a couple more years, and let me just go and do whatever I do. I know the churches, right? Not knowing that should you die in sin, and this whole Christianity thing is real, you are not going to like the consequences thereafter. The life to come will not be so precious as you would want it. So I rather to live a controlled life, one in which that, because you can find fulfillment and real joy following the ordinances laid out in the Bible. You know, people always are of this belief. A lot of people have the belief that once you become Christian, you become boring. You become Christian and you find a soulmate, a person.
I mean, isn't boring?
It's relative.
What I'm looking for, relative, right? I think
it is relative. But in societal standpoint, boring is that you don't
party,
get to go to carnival and
you don't do this, you don't do anything of
What they
of
call
an
the weekend
immoral.
thing? What they call the weekend thing?
Is it Dream Weekend?
Dream weekend. There we go. I don't know what it's a nightmare. I don't know what kind of dream it is to be packed up with how many girls.
I don't
sweating.
think it's a nightmare, but I get what you mean.
I don't know about any of you, but I don't believe I want to go to Carnival or something named Bacchanal.
That's not your thing?
No.
Wow. That's some form of revelation here.
I would never go to Carnival. Never.
Why?
Not my show. Not my. I mean,
Understand.
it's already bad enough when you go to a club and it's packed and there's a bunch of sweaty people in there. Imagine a bunch of sweaty people all running around.
I can't imagine.
Semi-naked.
Nightmare.
Imagine a bunch of semi-naked people, sweaty, all around you.
No, I can't. Really do it. Well, a lot of people do that every day. They
Exactly.
go to the gym.
I already have a problem.
Semi-naked and sweaty.
I already have a problem with the name Bacchanal. I will not go there.
We know that you are intellectual talent.
What?
Jesus. Yeah. But of course, no, not meaning to segue over into that. But of course, we're not trained professionals here with handling addiction. We're just having a conversation. Right? You know, we don't have any facts on what this is. Just our own experiences and how to deal with certain things. Yeah.
I don't think I have an addiction.
I don't have one. I don't know of me having an addiction. I don't.
It is very healthy what I like to do. I like to do it, and that's just it. I don't have a problem not doing it.
You say that it's very healthy what you do?
Yes.
That vaping is a healthy pastime?
I mean, alright, first of all, vaping is a job. It's not something that I have to do every day. I'm not dependent on it. That's not what I was talking about, though.
We don't know sex?
Yes, I'm not going into it.
No, I believe that you have been delivered from your addiction to sex, but that has been a progressive evolution. I don't think that it's something that in a couple of years ago, if we were to have examined your life at that point, I believe firmly that we would classify you as a sex addict.
Yes, you could have.
Right.
I have progressed over time.
You have, and I've seen the growth. Yeah. In your speech, especially, and from your speech, it tells me what you're thinking. Because so man, you know, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, is what the good book says. So we can see the progression that has been yours, the lifting up of oneself. You know, that out of what the muck that you are coming from, that little nasty living. Your living is still nasty, you know, but it's a little.
I'm sorry, sir. First of all, I like to tell people this. My mind is not in the gutter. My mind created the gutter.
It created it. Thank you kindly.
Wow.
And I concur. I will not
disagree. You have to concur at that point in time. He just gave it to you.
I will not. He never gave me anything. Back up, clean that up, fix that up, please.
Whoa.
We are just talking about. Dave, careful now, man. Careful.
I think we're segueing again, guys. So
we're fine
on the right
of course,
track.
we have some things that really jumped out on us in this conversation here in addiction. Of course, we'll definitely pick back up in some form or episode. But of course, we have our last topic here about resolution. Right? Like I was saying just now, we are not trained professionals. We can't be telling you exactly what you should do. The only advice I could give anyone listening to this podcast is that when it comes to you, first you have to identify that you have an addiction. Of course, definitely. That you have some form of addictive personality towards something, whether that be food, whatever gives you a good amount of endorphins or serotonin. This is normally how addiction is measured, with somebody's level of happiness. Not sure if that is something negative or is that something positive, but that's just from what I know.
In the moment, but
it's
also measured by the what comes after, because normally after you have gotten through that high, there is an extreme low.
Yeah.
That dullness, and that is what caused you to then go back and take on what
that's what
you want.
caused the relapse. That's what
So
caused the
you keep
relapse.
on going deeper and deeper. So for porn addiction, here is how it starts. It's very subtle. You start with a little magazine here and there for those who are much older, you know, before the internet, and then it came on the internet. Before even the internet, you would go and you'd get the VCRs and then the CDs and the DVDs, and from there, if you're not watching it, you're reading it through the
Harlequin romance novels and
all right,
yes.
good. Yes, we know that you have experience. Speak, testify, right?
I know.
Harlequin and Zanes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, right. So and you move from there, and you get a little glimpse of, some heterosexual porn, and all of a sudden that is not good enough. So now you want to see people get tied up and beaten, because it's no longer giving you the release from which you want. It's not carrying you to that place. And from beating now, you go into gangs, and that's where a lot of men get the perspective woman can't done, because she's a receiver, and so she can take and take and take and take and take.
Wow.
That is one of the founding or form the basis of.
I was about to say, I don't think we're really talking about how the addiction developed, but more of
How
it
it developed. It is how it's where you go with it, because you can take that same thing and
everything
put it.
that he just mentioned right
put
here,
it
so
to
was
smoking.
addictive. Yeah,
But
and
this
start
is
with
it,
an
addictive timeline.
You can do all of this. You can do all of this, but it's still not an addiction. It becomes an addiction where it's affecting you. It becomes an addiction where it's affecting your life overall. I mean, you can have this in your private time. You can do all of this in your private time, but if it's going to start affecting your health, affecting your relationships with other people, that's where it's an addiction.
And before it gets there, and you see, that is why the human race is grappling. Because in order for me to know, you see, before it gets to the point where it starts affecting your life, where I can see it, you have already fallen into an addictive behavior. Whenever it gets to the point where I can now tell, so somebody coming to work, and instead of doing what you're being paid for, you are sneaking away to go and drink, you're sneaking away to go and smoke.
Yeah.
You're there on the people in computer, back in your fist under your table.
Jeez.
Before it got to that point, you are addicted.
Who does this?
Yeah, that people do.
You have many people who do it. Why are people doing this?
No. I know that there are many people that do it. I'm just saying.
Move up with that.
Hold up. No, I said I know there are a lot of people that do it, but I'm just like, who does this?
People do it. They definitely do it.
I'm sorry.
They do it.
So before it gets to that point where it is negatively impacting your life for the world to see, it has already become an addiction, and that is where persons are in denial, and we have to be careful how we form the definition. Of course, you would have had your psychology degree, but outside of that, none of us really had much training. Outside of my experience with Salvation Army and the studies that I would have done with up by Open Campus and my own experiences, we have to move away from the point where we tell people that until it starts affecting your life, it is not an addiction. The choice is you, even maybe the thing with the slippery slope. From you realize that you are graduating from softcore to hardcore thing, there is a change that has happened in your mind. Your appetite has been widened. You are no longer satisfied by what you used to do, and you're going in a backward way, a backward setting. You can't tell me that it is okay to visualize or to live in a virtual world where women are being pissed on and beaten, and you don't feel like it's going to come into your relationship, into your own sex life, where you're expecting her now to backflip, or expecting her to be comfortable with you, releasing yourself, emptying your bladder on her. This is where it is. A lot of these things are coming from, and then domestic abuse happens because of these addictions, because of you living in a virtual world and escaping reality.
And I think you spent too much time with this young man. This young man knows too much things that he should not know, or we thought he did not know, but it appears he knows more than he's letting on. So
I'm pretty sure he was always that well educated, but it's good that the listeners definitely did see this side of him. But of course,
now they know that this person is a Chris Pudding fan.
Chris Pudding fan.
Chris Pudding fan. Right. Basically, on that note, I mean, of course, we have a decent topic to discuss next about stress, and then we're going to definitely fall into the topic of the lustrous for sex. But of course, it was a lovely conversation here with these gentlemen as usual. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video. You can always catch us here on YouTube Monday at 9 p.m. every week. Of course, don't forget to share these videos on every social media platform. And do you guys have anything you want to say in the ending? Anything at all?
Oh, if you would permit me to end with the section of the prayer for which I was telling you about.
Okay. But before he does so, I would just like to tell all of y'all, though we were completely talking about addiction today, please become addicted to us. Be very.
Well, I'm not sure I welcome that. I'm not sure I welcome that at all. I'm looking for my next wife, and I would hate for, the wrong person to form some sort of addictive thing to me and then start to stalk me. I wouldn't want that at all.
Sir, you might have about 5 stalkers already. So
no, be addictive to the podcast, not the person, not the faces behind.
I think there are a few people behind the camera, behind the scenes right now, saying too late.
Too late. Probably too late. But he did let the persons know that he's for open. See, he said he's looking for his next wife. So I mean,
Well, my wife. Let me just clarify that. So, and you might need to come.
You just gave an open invitation.
Hold up. I am going to become a Salvation Army pastor, and it requires that we get married to persons who are also Salvation Army pastors. So that there protects me, because I'm not going to get.
So ladies, you know what you need to do.
Exactly. You know what the resume needs to have. That's basically all he's saying here. Like, hey, this is a prerequisite to before, you get
work your way into that army to become his salvation.
Gentlemen, for the love of God, let us close.
For the love of God, but yes, he's closing with this verse. You wanna let them hear that, Josh?
This is from A Diary of Private Cry. If you're not Christian, I apologize, but no, I'm not sorry. O thou who alone knowest what lies before me this day, grant that in every hour of it I may stay close to thee. Let me be in the world, yet not of it. Let me use this world without abusing it. If I have nothing, let me be as though possessing all things. Let me today embark on no undertaking that is not in line with thy will for my life, nor shrink from any sacrifice which thy will may demand. Suggest, direct, control every moment of my mind. For my Lord's sake. Amen. That's my guiding thing each morning.
I hope you guys took a very keen interest into that. I mean, you can always replay that too. I'm sure you catch and write it down.
But of course, to that. But any of you guys that are like me, I'm sure you like the first half of that passage right there. We were all thinking the same thing. I won't say it, but we were all thinking the same thing, guys.
I tell you what, put it in the comment section. Of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this video. You can see all our Twitter handles and Instagram handles in the description. And of course, from me here in the studio, Ryan, Josh, and Alex, thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your night.